Yesterday, UKIP held an event in central London intended to dispel charges that it is racist. Their leader, Nigel Farage, said the handful of UKIP candidates who said stupid or offensive things do not represent the party and that the event was a pivotal moment. Though the meeting, designed to highlight UKIP's female, black and ethnic minority candidates, was disrupted several times by protesters, Mr Farage was in defiant mood. Here's a flavour of what he had to say.
Let this picture of me on the stage with these wonderful men and women from all their different backgrounds and their united belief in being British and being part of this country and in wanting this country to be free and independent and self-governing and proud. Let this be UKIP's Clause 4 moment. The reason we've taken this abuse over the course of the last few weeks is, for the first time in 100 years, a new national political party has come along that has got the establishment rattled. We got them scared.
Nigel Farage there. Well, joining me now is Mr Farage's right-hand man, Deputy Leader Paul Nuttal. Welcome to the programme, Mr Nuttal. Why do you think you attract so many people with views that most people would consider unpalatable for a political party, and in fact you yourselves consider unpalatable for a political party?
I don't think we do. I think that you've
had to expel a few, haven't you?
Hang on. I think all political parties attract certain types, some very strange people indeed. The difference with us is that we deal with the problems that we have. We deal with it swiftly, and yet we kick them out. And I'm sorry, you know, only 0.3% of our 2,250 candidates have been found to have a problem. So, you know, we've dealt with it. The event last night, unfortunately, I couldn't attend, but, you know, I've been told it was absolutely fantastic.
If you have to have an event there and you look at Nigel Farage surrounding by candidates from black and ethnic minority groups, doesn't that suggest that there is a problem if you have to make such a big deal about it in an event like that? Well,
the media have made it a problem for us from probably since 2004. I think it was The Independent that called us the BNP in Blazers, and it's continued on from there. I mean, look, the fact is you look at the Labour Party. You know, they've got a sitting councillor who's a former regional organiser of the BNP. You know, you've got a Liberal Democrat who's just been done for racially aggravated assault. You know, the Conservatives have got a guy who was talking about macheteing immigrants. But you don't read about this in the newspapers. But if you substitute Labour, Conservative or Liberal Democrat for UKIP, it would be on the front page of every newspaper.
Is this manufactured by the media?
No, but I think UKIP shouldn't be so thin-skinned about it. It's a sign, really, that they are a threat to the established political class and that proper scrutiny is being applied to their candidates for the first time. The fact that their processes have been found wanting and they do seem to have probably a larger number of headbangers than other parties is perhaps a measure of the fact that they are still a sort of a virgin party. But it shows that they're being tested in a way that and they're being taken seriously in a way that they weren't previously.
Yeah, right. I just sort of agree, actually. You know, it is about being now on the top table, but I'm not sure.
Don't moan about it.
But I'm not so sure you can call it scrutiny, really, because scrutiny should have an even playing field, and it doesn't. And what's happening now is it's beginning to look like a witch hunt. And the one thing that the British people don't like is to see the smallest boy in the playground being bullied, and that's the problem. It might work in America, and it might work in Australia, but it doesn't work in this country, and it's counterproductive.
Right, you've blamed a small number of people in the party, you've dealt with it, and you say that there are similar cases in other parties. But it isn't just people who are on the sidelines of your party. There is this use of nationalistic language, isn't there? I mean, Nigel Farage has said in the past that London is experiencing a Romanian crime wave and said that British people should be wary if a Romanian family moves into their street. That is nationalistic and divisive language, isn't it?
But it's true.
But is it nationalistic and divisive? Is that true as well?
But it's true. 92% of ATM crime in the City of London is committed by Romanian gangs. 28,000 people over the past 5 years who are Romanian have been arrested in London. If that's not a crime wave, I don't know what is.
All right, so rather than the term, do you think the term is wrong? Would you say that it's xenophobic to make that sort of statement, even if you believe it's true?
No, I think it's true. If something's true...
Right, no, but I didn't ask you if it's true, but is it xenophobic?
No,
is it xenophobic to talk about whole nations of people? I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but can you accept that even if the term racist hasn't been correctly used, would you agree that the party is xenophobic about foreigners in the way it talks about various nationalities, the way it talks about the EU? No?
Absolutely not. In fact, if you look at UKIP's immigration policy, it's completely and utterly anti-racist. All we want is a points-based system for everyone. So, for example, if you're an Indian brain surgeon, it can be very difficult to get into this country, but if you're a low-skilled migrant from Eastern Europe, you can come, claim benefits and work willy-nilly. That isn't correct at all. What we want is a system which provides complete equality, like Australia, a points-based system. If you've got the skills that this country needs, yes, please come here and work.
All right, well,
There's nothing racist about that.
Right, let's talk then about the local elections, because one of the big things that we've talked about before is a lack of base, a local base for UKIP. That's the problem. You get the headlines for this sort of event and talking about immigration and talking about the EU, but you're still not breaking through on what you would call the bread and butter issues that people have at local base. You admitted that last time. Has it changed? Yeah,
well, we had the local election launch this morning, and I think UKIP has changed really over the past 3 or 4 years. It's gone from being strictly EU focused to focusing on local government, and last year alone, in May 2013, we got 147 people elected to county councils up and down the country, and they're doing a fantastic job. They have the highest attendance record of any of the other political parties as councillors. They're doing a great job for their local communities, and we're putting up more candidates than ever before this year. And I think, and Nigel said it this morning, we will get hundreds of councillors elected on May the 22nd.
Right, there's an admission by UKIP that they hadn't made breakthroughs up until now. We'll wait to see what happens in the local elections this time. They hadn't made breakthroughs. They hadn't got enough representation at a local level. Do you think that will really change in the local elections this time? We know what the polls say about the Europeans.
I suspect it will.
Do you think UKIP's a blip?
I don't, actually. I think it's one of the most interesting political phenomenons that we've seen in recent years. And I think the attacks on Nigel Farage have backfired so spectacularly because he's seen as the anti-politics candidate. He's none of the above.
Of course, the other issue is you do need to break through at local elections, because otherwise it is just Nigel Farage and you, to a lesser extent, I'm sure you would accept, and he can't carry on like that.
I mean, we know that the local elections are the Trojan horse to Westminster. I mean, Paddy Ashdown proved that with the Liberal Democrats, and, you know, he was brilliant the way he did it, and, you know, we are going to try to replicate that. But I want to make one point. 2/3 of our vote comes from people who don't vote Conservative. We're now taking more votes in the north of England than ever before, and we're making serious inroads into the big cities, the big urban areas like Liverpool, Manchester and Newcastle. And the reason why UKIP is so exciting is because we are the outsiders. It's not like the SDP in the early 1980s, because they all came from within the establishment. They'd all been Labour cabinet ministers. You know, we are the outsiders, and we are shaking up British politics.
Well, let's see what happens in the elections. Paul Nuttal, thank you.